Hello students, welcome back to your online physical education classes. So today we are going to start our last unit, Unit 10, that is training in sports. We'll go through the topics which we have to study in this unit. Number 1 is strength, in which we have to study definition, types and methods of improving strength. Isometric, isotonic and isokinetic. These are the methods. Second is endurance, definition, types and methods of develop endurance. That is continuous training, interval training and fartlek training. Third, we'll study speed, definition, type, method of develop speed. That is acceleration, run and pace run. Fourth is flexibility, definition of flexibility, types and methods to improve flexibility. And the last topic is coordinative abilities, definition and types of coordinative ability. So to understand these components of physical fitness, firstly, we have to understand the meaning of training and sports training. So training means the action of teaching a person a particular skill, and sports training is the branch of science which helps to increase sports performance. There are various types of training methods to improve performance by developing physical fitness in a proper way. In sports, athletes require specific type of physical fitness components, and to improve these components, a specific type of training is required. That training is known as sports training. So now we'll shift towards our first topic, that is strength. So now we'll study our first physical component, that is strength, type of strength and how many methods are there to improve strength, as we have to study 3 methods, that is isometric, isotonic and isokinetic. So firstly, we have to study the meaning and definition of strength. So strength is the ability of a muscle or a group of muscles to exert maximum force against a resistance in a single contraction. In simple words, we can say that strength is the ability of muscles to overcome the resistance. So there are 2 types of strength. Number 1 is static strength and dynamic strength. So in dynamic strength, there is 3 types of strength, that is maximum strength, explosive strength and strength endurance. So static strength is the ability of muscles to act against resistance in static position. It is also called isometric strength. For example, weightlifting, pushing the wall. Second is your dynamic strength. It is the ability of muscles to carry out work against a resistance when the body is in motion. So dynamic strength is also called isotonic strength. It is related to the movements like pull-ups, push-ups. We require dynamic strength in these movements. So in dynamic strength, first strength is maximum strength. It is the ability of muscles to act against maximum resistance in a single effort. For example, weightlifting, wrestling, jumping and throwing events. So it is required for a very short period, like in gymnastic while performing at Roman rings, starting an acceleration phase in sprints and during takeoff for long jump, high jump, pole vault, etc. Second is explosive strength. It is the ability to overcome resistance with high speed. This strength is used in long jump, high jump, triple jump, jumping in volleyball for smashing. Third is strength endurance. It is the ability of an individual to overcome resistance under the condition of fatigue. It is the combination of endurance and strength abilities. Strength endurance is used in sports like swimming, long distance races, or road races, cycling, etc. So these are types of strength. Now we will study methods of improving strength. So there are 3 exercises for improving strength. Number 1 is isometric exercises, second is isotonic exercises, and third is isokinetic exercises. So number 1 is isometric exercises. The word isometric came from Greek, in which iso means same and metric means length or size, which means same length or size. No change in the length of the muscle remains the same, work done cannot be observed, require less time and equipments, useful for maintaining strength in case of injury. Archery, weightlifting, gymnastic are the examples of isometric movements. So here in the example, you can clearly see the movement is not visible to the third person. Your muscle length will remain same while doing the exercise. Second exercise for improving strength is isotonic. So iso means same and tonic means tension. Movements of muscle can be observed directly. Lengthening and shortening of muscle can be seen and called eccentric contraction and concentric contraction. When we throw a ball, jumps, run, weight training, these type of contraction occurs. Exercise can be done with equipments, and without equipment it could not be done. Increases the flexibility and length of the muscle and are good for conditioning in sports. So in simple words, in isotonic exercises the movement is visible. So the example of isotonic exercises are doing exercises with light weight or dumbbells come under isotonic exercises. So with the help of this picture, you will be able to understand very easily the difference between isotonic exercises and isometric exercises. So the third and the last exercise for improving strength is isokinetic exercises. So as we have studied in previous 2 exercises that iso means same but kinetic means motion. So this exercise was introduced by J.J. Parini in 1968. These exercises are done using specially designed machine and are combination of isotonic and isometric exercises. Machines allow for maximum resistance over the complete range of motion. These type of movements are usually applied in water sports, skating, climbing and running. So isokinetic exercises are done only with the help of specially designed machine. For example, when we do workout in gym, that is isokinetic exercises. So after this, our next topic is endurance, in which we will study the definition, types of endurance and methods to develop endurance. So as you know, endurance is the ability to sustain an activity, also defined as the ability to resist fatigue. In all sports, endurance is of high importance, measured by the number of repetition. So endurance is divided into two types. Number one is according to the nature of activity, in which number one is basic endurance. Basic endurance is also referred as aerobic endurance because basic endurance largely depends on aerobic endurance. Example, jogging, walking at slow or moderate pace for more than 30 minutes. So it is basic endurance. Second is journal endurance. So journal endurance can be referred to be the capacity of performing a type of activity that involves many muscle groups and system for prolonged time. Third is specific endurance. Specific endurance is the combination of various types of endurance you need to maximize your ability to succeed in your discipline or game. For example, if you are a 1500 meter runner, you use a combination of endurance training method to perform better at your specific distance. So number two is type of endurance according to the duration of activity. So now in duration of activity, it is divided into four categories. Number one is speed endurance. So it is the ability to resist fatigue in activities not lasting more than 45 seconds. For example, 400 meter sprints. Second is short-term endurance. It is the activity which lasts from about 45 seconds to 2 minutes. That is your 800 meter races, because these activities are performed in absence of oxygen. Third one is your middle term endurance. So this type of endurance is required in sports where the action or movement lasts from 2 minutes to 11 minutes. The endurance needed by a runner running 1500 meter race is an example of middle term endurance. And the last one is long term endurance. This type of endurance is needed in sports where the action or movement is for a longer duration or more than 11 minutes. Example is long distance races, cross country, marathon races and cycling. These are long term endurance. So students, after types, now we will move towards the method to develop endurance, in which we will study three methods. Number one is your continuous training method. Second is interval training method, and third one is your fartlek training method. So we'll start with continuous training method. So continuous training method is the best method to develop endurance. In this method, an exercise is performed for longer duration without taking break or rest. That's why it is known as continuous training method. Marathon and cross-country races are the best example of this training method. So continuous training method is quick, useful for football, rugby and hockey players. In this method, the intensity is fixed as per player's heartbeat. So continuous training method is further divided into three types. That is short continuous training method, or we can say slow pace continue method. Second is quick continuous training method or fast pace continuous method. And third one is changing speed training method or variable pace continue method or alternative pace method. So in number one, short continuous training method or slow pace continue method, in this usually it is used by cross-country runners, and with this method they develop aerobic endurance. In this method, pace or speed is set, duration and distance is long. The duration of the activity is about for 60 minutes to 120 minutes and distance covered may be 15 to 25 kilometers. So heartbeat in this remain about 130 to 160 beat per minute. Second one is your fast-paced continuous method or quick continue training method. In this, the player have to do exercise at more intensity and fast pace because these athletes need anaerobic endurance with speed. It is done with fast speed or pace. Duration of the activity in this method is 10 to 20 minutes and heart rate remains about 140 to 180 per minute. Third one is your variable pace continuous method. This method is the combination of fast pace and slow pace method. In this method, pace or speed keeps on changing from time to time. This method helps to develop anaerobic and aerobic endurance. This method is performed from 25 minutes to 1 hour and heartbeat remains around 160 to 190 per minute. So our next training method to improve endurance is interval training method. So from the name you can understand that it is a kind of training method in which interval is very important while doing physical training for the recovery period. So interval training method is a type of training method that involves a series of low to high intensity workouts with rest or relief period in between. It is very effective for developing endurance for track runners. Intervals are given to the athlete in between the repetitions for complete recovery. Recovery period varies from person to person. Heart rate should go up to 180 beats per minute, and when the heart rate comes down to 120 to 130 beat per minute, again the repetitions work started. Training load should be given again after checking the heart rate of the athlete. So the name of the system, interval training, was given because the rest or recovery period between the faster runs was considered the most important and vital part of the training. It is during the interval that the heart adapts, growing larger and stronger. That's why it is known as interval training. So there are two types of interval training method. Number one is intensive interval training method. Number two is extensive interval training method. So in intensive interval training method, intensity is high, that is from 80% to 100%. This method is used generally for the development of the athlete's speed endurance. This training is done when the competition is closer and preparation time is less. Second is extensive interval training. In extensive interval training method, intensity is low from 60 to 80% and the number of repetitions should be more as intensity of repetition is less. So the advantages and disadvantages are also given. More work can be done in short time. It is more beneficial for respiratory and circulatory system as they can be trained both at same time. The athlete progress can be assessed easily. It gives better result in short duration. Some disadvantages are regular training leads to heart disease, more prone to injuries, etc. So the last training method to develop endurance is fartlek training method. This training method is used for developing endurance. The word fartlek is a Swedish word that means speed. So the other name of fartlek training method is speed play. It is the blend of continuous training method and interval training method. Athlete plans his own pace. Heartbeat rate varies between 140 to 180 per minute. Duration of training depends upon athlete but minimum 45 minutes. It can vary from aerobic walking to anaerobic sprinting. Warm up in the beginning and cooling down at the end is very important. It involves varying pace throughout run alternating between fast and slow pace. So, the whole routine is then repeated until the total time of the training schedule has completed. So, with the help of these pictures, you will be able to understand that how the track of fartlek training should be. From starting, you should be jogging, then running, then sprint, walking. You can change alternatively your pace from walking to running, from running to sprints. So now comes the advantages and disadvantages of fartlek training. So in advantages, this method is not hard due to natural conditions. In this, the athlete have choice or speed pace variation. It is good for aerobic and anaerobic fitness. Many players can participate at one time, easy to conduct, adaptable to athlete. Now the disadvantages are, this method is not complete in nature. There is a risk of accidents. Coach could not assess athlete's performance. The athlete can lose weight during practice. Self-discipline is utmost priority. So here is the flow chart of advantages and disadvantages of all the three training methods to improve endurance. With the help of this flow chart, you will be able to understand that what are the advantages of these training and what are the disadvantages of these training. Now we will move towards our third physical fitness component, that is speed, and what are the different training methods to develop speed, in which we will study the acceleration run and the pace run. So now we will understand firstly the meaning of speed. Speed is an ability of the individual to perform a movement of same pattern at a faster rate. Different sport skills require different types of fast movements and quick reaction. Speed depends on heredity factors, especially on type of muscle fiber one have. There are two types of muscle fiber. One is slow twitch muscle fiber and another is fast twitch muscle fiber. So type of speed is number one, reaction ability, in which simple reaction ability and complex reaction ability. Second is acceleration ability. Third is movement speed. Fourth is locomotor ability, and fifth is speed endurance. So the first training method to develop speed is acceleration run. It is used to develop speed indirectly by improving explosive strength, technique, flexibility, and movement frequency. It is the ability of a sprinter to achieve high speed from a stationary position. For direct improvement of acceleration run or acceleration speed, a sprinter should do 25 to 30 meter sprint 6 to 12 times. The maximum speed should be achieved within 5 to 6 seconds. Sufficient intervals should be provided between the repetition. So second training method to develop speed is pace run. Pace run means running the whole distance with a constant or same speed. Generally, 800 meter and above races are included in pace run. An athlete can run a distance of 100 meter at full speed, but in longer races such as 800 meter or above, he must reserve his energy by reducing the speed. For pace run training, an athlete should run at maximum steady speed for a distance which is 10 to 20% more than the racing distance of the event he is preparing for. So there are few points which should be taken into consideration for pace training. Number 1, repetition of runs should be done at below maximum or near maximum speed with long recovery period. So now the next topic is flexibility, types of flexibility and methods to improve flexibility, or training methods to improve flexibility. So flexibility is the range of movements of joints. Range of movements varies significantly from joint to joint but depends on the structure of the surrounding tendons, ligaments and muscle tissues. Flexibility is related to genetic factor and physical activity programs. So type of flexibilities are, there are only two types of flexibility. One is passive flexibility and another is active flexibility. So in active flexibility, it is divided into two types, that is static flexibility and dynamic flexibility. So firstly we'll study passive flexibility. So passive flexibility is the ability of a joint to do movement with external help, that is help from the surroundings. Example, performing stretching exercise with the help of a coach or a partner. Second is active flexibility. Active flexibility is the ability to do movements for a longer distance without external help or forces. It is divided into two types, that is static flexibility and dynamic flexibility. So in static flexibility, an individual performs a movement and tries to remain in the same position for some time. For example, halasana, chakrasana, bending forward, sideward bending, etc. In dynamic flexibility, it is performed during motion or movement. It is required for performing movements with greater distance when the person is in motion. These actions are performed during gymnastic movements, on Roman ring, etc. So these are the type of flexibility. Now we will study the methods to improve flexibility. So number 1 is ballistic method, second is static stretching method, third is dynamic stretching method, and fourth is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation technique. So number 1 is ballistic method. All the movements or activities which are done with rhythm or swing is called ballistic stretching. This dynamic method uses the momentum generated from repeated bouncing movements to stretch the muscles. Although it is very effective, but most experts do not recommend this method because it may overstretch the muscles and can cause muscle soreness or injuries. Second is your static stretching. It is extremely powerful and effective technique. Static stretching involves gently and slowly moving into the stretch position and holding it for a certain period of time. Third is dynamic stretching method. Dynamic stretching is a movement-based stretching aimed at increasing blood flow throughout the body while also loosening up the muscle fiber. Standard dynamic stretching typically involve slow and controlled active contraction of muscle. Fourth method to improve flexibility is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation technique. This is also called PNF technique. This technique is used by sportsperson for gaining flexibility. It involves use of muscle contraction before the stretch to achieve maximum muscle relaxation. The following procedure is used for PNF technique. Move into the stretch position so that the stretch sensation can be felt. The partner holds the limbs in this stretching position. Then push against your partner for 6 to 10 seconds by contracting the antagonistic muscle and then relax. During contraction, the partner tries to resist any movement of the limbs. Then the partner moves the limb further into the stretch until the stretch sensation is felt. And last, repeat the whole procedure for 4 to 5 times. So this is PNF technique for flexibility. So last topic is our coordinative ability, in which we will study types of coordinative ability. So coordinative abilities are the abilities of an individual which enable him to do various related activities properly and efficiently. Accuracy, rhythm, flow and consistency depends on coordinative abilities. So types of coordinative abilities are as following. So type of coordinative abilities are: number 1, orientation ability, second, coping ability, and third is reaction ability. So in reaction ability, it is simple reaction ability and complex reaction ability. Next is balance ability, rhythmic ability, adaptation ability and differentiation ability. So these all are types of coordination ability. Now we will study the methods to improve coordination ability. So by participating in physical activity or exercises, we can improve our coordination ability. Second is correct and conscious movement. By this also we can improve our coordinative ability. Third is additional means to improve motor sense. And fourth is variation in exercises. Fifth is degree of difficulty. So students, with this we have completed our last unit of physical education, that is training in sports.